Good afternoon, and welcome to another office hours training. I am Crystal L. Gunn, your financial strategist, life insurance agent, and small business advisor. Part of my job as that strategist, be it on the personal side or the business side, is to help you create a solid financial foundation, to help you heal and redefine your personal financial relationship. And I also, again, on the business side, help you build a strong business base or foundation on which you can grow. I also help you to have some aha moments, right? Some self-discovery moments, helping you see the things that no longer serve you so that you can release that and soar, helping you to giving you suggestions and other tools and resources that you may not be aware of or may not know how to use them in a different manner, right? And so all of this happens with those breakthroughs. That's where you start to shift. That's where the magic happens, be it in your personal finances or your overall business. So all of August, I talked about it will be dedicated to life insurance because it's so very, very important. So let's dig into some reasons why insurance is most important. Educate you a little bit more on life insurance. We can connect and get you adequate coverage because far too many people are underinsured if they are insured. So for the past 2 weeks, I've been speaking about the misconceptions of life insurance, and there are a lot of them. Go back and watch those episodes, see what misconceptions you had, and so that you can move past those and use this very powerful tool. Today, let's start to dig into why life insurance is important and the uses of life insurance. And some of them you may or may not have ever thought about. And so the first way to use life insurance is probably the one that is most well known, and that is using life insurance to cover final expenses, right? And I talk a lot about the historical context of things and why we operate the way that we operate, because in a lot of instances, we don't know why we operate that way. And so I can't say where post-emancipation, we didn't have access to financial education, financial planners, life insurance, and things of that nature. But when we got access to those things, life insurance, if for nothing else to cover final expenses, was something that was utilized. So I can't say not having it is coded in our DNA. I don't know where, how it happened that we stopped getting life insurance, if for no other reason than to cover your final expenses. I don't know where and in what generation did that break down. Because when I talk to that senior generation, and I'm talking about typically, 70, 75 and over, not all of them, because I come in contact with quite a few that don't have any, but they will usually have coverage enough to cover final expenses. All of these other reasons that I'm going to talk about for the rest of the month, they don't have that, but they do see the value, or saw the value at some point, in saying, I'm not going to leave my family to cover these expenses, right? And on the flip side of that coin, I see almost as many people that don't have it, or they don't even have adequate coverage to cover final expenses, because they may have gotten that policy a long time ago. And just like everything else, the cost of the funeral and everything that goes along with that has gone through the roof. So I always say that leaving your loved ones to figure out how to pay for your final expenses is irresponsible. And it doesn't matter whether you believe they have the money or not. Somebody may say, you know what, my kid got a whole lot of money. My kid got a job, or my children have this, my children can cover it, right? Some people think that. It's not fair to them, and it doesn't matter how much money they make. You never know. I work with people all the time who say, Crystal, I make a lot of money and I have no money in savings. So whether or not they make a lot of money is not even an issue. And you should not want them to deplete their savings or assets if you think they have it, right? So making sure that you have enough coverage for your financial expenses also helps to preserve any of the assets that they have. Again, because they don't have to tap into their own funds in order to be able to cover these costs. Wise person once said, it costs to live and it also costs to die. Don't leave your cost to die onto someone else, right? So do me a favor. Pull out your current life insurance policies and check the coverage amount. Is it enough to cover your final expenses? And when we talk about final expenses, we got to look at more than just that cost of that service. So there's the funeral home charges, right? They got to come pick the body up, they got to embalm, or they got to cremate, whatever it is you're doing, right? And are you having a viewing at the funeral home, the day before the service? Well, there's a cost to that. So all of the funeral home charges, right? The cars, then there's the cost for the funeral, and there's the cost for the casket and the grave plot and the service at the grave site when they actually do what they do at the grave site. Is cremation the choice? Well, there's a cost of that. What's the cost of the urn? What if your wishes is, you want to be cremated and you want your ashes let loose in whatever body of water that you visited somewhere. Okay, well, how they gonna get there to do that, right? So what's the cost of that, right? The cost of the church and the repast, the cost for the obituaries, right? How many times have you been at a service and people want obituaries and they're all out because it costs, and usually the covers are at least in color. And so when you start thinking about doing an obituary, and they get longer and longer these days, do you have the cost, right, in that policy enough to cover that? Also, there's the after the service things that need to happen. So did you leave alone and now your house needs to be packed up, items moved, house cleaned, and maybe even some repairs done if the family is looking to sell that house, right? There's so much that goes into your final expenses other than just that funeral service. And are you leaving your family enough to cover all of those things? Remember, life insurance, I promise you, it's a necessity. And so when I talk about getting your financial house in order, life insurance is part of that. Leaving your loved ones without your income, right? We're going to talk about that one later. But mostly today, trying to figure out how to pay for your final expenses. Remember, those final expenses are more than just the cost of that funeral. So when you talk about you love your family, the absolute least you can do is have adequate life insurance coverage. And for today's example, or ways to use it, is for final expenses, but it's for final expenses in its totality, right? And so we as people, and I say this as Black folks, are missing out on an industry that could help to stop that 2053 prediction of Blacks having zero wealth. We're missing out on the benefits of having life insurance, and we're also missing out on the benefits of having a career in life insurance. When we talk about the 2053 prediction of Blacks having zero wealth, getting your financial house in order is how we ensure that prediction doesn't become a reality. 2053 is 29 years away. We can't wait to 2050 to start working on your finances. We got to start that today. As we talk about building generational wealth, well, life insurance is one tool in order to do so. It also helps to preserve wealth. You don't want somebody tapping into their assets to be able to cover your final final expenses. You also don't know if they have the assets in order to be able to do that in the first place. And so we talk about breaking generational curses. And if the curse is going to start with you, then the new system of success must start with you. But you got to get the tools in order to create those new systems of success, in order to pass them down and to pass down some generational wealth. So, bum, 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 bum. You all can already guess what my favorite thing is. It's going to be a little redundant this month, but my favorite thing is life insurance, right? It really and truly is. That's my favorite thing for this month for sure, is life insurance, and understanding their different levels, layers, and all of that to life insurance. And getting your financial house in order is truly a journey, and one that should be taken a step at a time. But it's a journey, and you don't know what you don't know. So getting help, again, if not from me, from somebody else, but getting help to make sure and ensure that you're doing what needs to be done for you and for your family, as crucial as and important. So life insurance is definitely my favorite thing for today. And again, for the rest of the month. I don't know. I don't know how many different ways to let people know how important it is. But let's talk about these 3 things that you should do next. Complete the life insurance calculator to see how much coverage you need for you, right? And remember, when you're doing this, go back and pay attention to what I said goes all into those final expenses. Yes, the funeral, but it's also the things that happen after that. So go back and pay attention to that, and then make sure that you have adequate coverage. Schedule a free consultation with me, and let's discuss some options. Let's discuss, do you need additional policies? I do policies review because sometimes people really and truly just have policies that, based on what they say that they want and how they want to live, become inadequate. I'm never going to say that it's necessarily a bad policy, but it doesn't really fit what they want. And I don't know, when they got that policy, was it just something that they received, or was it something that was it something that they didn't know the questions to ask, and so they got what they got, right? So let's talk about it in detail to see what's most important to you, so that we can get the coverage for you that you need if you don't have that. And then we fill in the gaps with whatever coverage. You may have something, but it might not be adequate enough just to cover all of this stuff that you said. You may have gone in and said, oh, I did $15,000 just because I didn't want somebody to have to cover those costs of the actual funeral. But then when you start looking at all of those other things, when you sit in your house, be it you own it, rent it, or whatever that apartment is, well, who's going to come in and do and get rid of all of this stuff? Yes, your family is, but does anything need to be moved? Does anything need to be, what costs are associated with that? Getting the death certificates and all of those things. So do you have adequate coverage and able to do so that allows your loved ones to do everything that they need to do after the funeral, as well as everything associated with that funeral? And so we can fill in those gaps in coverage, and also we can get your children covered. It's really, really important. A lot of those seniors that I talk to, a couple of things happen. They will say, they've tried to talk to their children, their grown children, about life insurance, and their children just don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear about it. Which then also means that those grown children aren't getting policies for their grandchildren. And so with those seniors, or not even seniors, with those individuals, we talk strategy on how they can put things in place to make sure those next generations are covered, right? And get the benefit from life insurance, but also it being there to take care of those people that are left behind when someone dies. Okay. So we can talk about all of those things. This is the biggest issue, I think, when it comes to life insurance in general, is that people think that they have time. And you may or you may not. But one thing that we know for sure is we never know the date and the hour, right? Even when somebody is dying and they are in transition, you still don't know the exact moment that that thing is going to happen. So we think that we have more time. So again, my favorite thing this month, but and always as a tool and as a necessity is going to be life insurance. So this information has been helpful to you today. Please be sure to follow my channel, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss a training. And share this channel with somebody else. You never know who's looking for what. You never know what somebody needs. You never know what somebody was just praying for the night before. This could be the answer to whatever that prayer was that they said the night before. And as always, remember to give yourself some grace. We don't know why we operate the way that we operate, right? Like I said, my biggest thing is helping people heal and redefine their personal financial relationship and getting their financial houses in order. But give yourself some grace in that, because you don't know why you operate the way that you operate. If you don't have your house in order now, give yourself some grace, because you don't. But you can't give yourself grace for when you get this information and you don't act on it, right? So always give yourself some grace. Keep striving for your next level. You're not in competition with anybody else. This life is about your own personal journey. And then I think we have a responsibility to that next generation as well. So never give up on you. You're so worth it. And always invest in you. I promise you, is the best investment that you will ever make. And you will never in your life or the afterlife regret the investments that you made in yourself. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. Be sure to join me for the private online Q&A immediately following. The link is in the description. And if you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and turn notifications on so you never miss this opportunity. Thank you again, and I will see you